Frozen Pass is a map that I love to play on, but it is such a kind of broken map. And I love to play on it simply because I like to fly through the tunnel and drop bombs. It's just one of those little things that I just get a lot of joy out of. Even if I bomb and crash, as long as I kill someone in the tunnel, I don't care. It's fun. But we're gonna talk about the map, and we're gonna talk about what the teams are doing. Specifically, let's start with the map, the A point. It's one of the spots that if you don't rush and get there first, it's not gonna be worth it for you to try to get in there. Team 2, they really need to get in there. Just like Berlin, if you don't take the A point early on, you're gonna get spawn camped if you're that south spawn. And Team 1 goes ahead and tries to take the A point, and they do it quite well. Team 2 sits on the outside of it. I'm not entirely sure why they got there first, and they could have taken it, because getting up that hill for Team 1 is kind of a problem. And, you know, trying to peek around that corner and trying to get into the tunnel is just a death trap, just like we saw in Sun City. Now, to the rest of it, Team 2 does end up taking over the C point here in a little bit, and they have control over it for a little while. And it kind of, the C point goes back and forth, back and forth. The B point, however, it continues to be just this desolate wasteland. And that's because with this map, there are so many different sniping spots, different locations. If I were to mark them all, I would just have to mark the entire map. Because like in the E6 block, there's a guy up on top of the rocks there. There's the guy in the F6 block, he's up by the church. And then for Team 1, they've got the E3 block in those trees, and technically Team 2 could take that, and then they'd have a dominating control over pushing, you know, a lot of places. Team 1 also has the C2-3 area. There's just all sorts of places. Now, obviously, you can't get up into the hills or the mountains, the rocks, whatever you want to call them, between C and B, but there's a lot of other places you can get to and snipe from. And at battle rating 6.0, that can actually be quite devastating unless you're, you know, trying to shoot at a tiger or something heavily armored. Now, to what the teams are doing. Team 1 ends up taking the A point, and they have that overwatch of Team 2 spawn. Team 2 addresses that, or at least I think they did, and they start spawning on the other side, and they take the C point, and they continue to move. Now, both teams do a good-ish job. Team 1 does a better job at grouping together, staying together, fighting together. Team 2, on the other hand, they stayed together, but they kind of stayed in this back spawn area and were sniping, which is kind of okay at this BR, except for aircraft, and they didn't bring enough SPAAs. They only have one in the bottom spawn, and that was kind of detrimental because their aircraft also weren't really helpful to them. And you know, especially these BRs, aircraft are very prolific, and if you're not having SPAAs or other aircraft to address things, you're going to have problems. Now, their aircraft did come in and just bombed the 2 ones out of the lower spawn for them. It wasn't enough because that light tank ends up finishing everyone out of there. And then from there, we can see Team 1 is pushing over to that spawn. Their A point overwatching has got that. The guy in the church, he could do a lot more. He could actually take out that heavy over on the A point if he saw him, if he tried to do anything, but he doesn't. And for the most part, the biggest problem that Team 2 had, and it's a problem that we always have, is that people started to leave the match. Honestly, I think that if Team 2's players would have stayed in the match more, would have done more, obviously that's always the case, but if they wouldn't have just left the match early, it would have made a difference. There was 5 or 6 that won spawn wonders, and they had points. They just didn't continue to play, and that's the problem. Gaijin needs to come up with an incentive for people to stay in the match. Something like, the longer you stay in the match, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Something like that. Maybe the amount of time that you stay in the match determines on your reward. And I know we just got through this whole thing with the, you know, boycotts and all that stuff. I'm just trying to think of ideas to entice people to stay in the matches longer. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments. What do you think we could do, or Gaijin could do, to get people to stay in the game longer, rather than just being one spawn wonders? Obviously, at top tier, there's nothing you can do about it if they only have one vehicle, other than adding in backups. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe, you guys. Catch you later.